Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. We're diving right in today because we are looking at something absolutely massive. We're going to explore this incredible 40-year journey of Guwahati and exactly how it transformed from a regional center into India's absolute undisputed education hub. Think about the sheer scale of India for a second. We've got these massive, sprawling megacities, right? Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. But out of all the incredible cities in this vast country, exactly one city, just one, is going to hold a very specific, crazy prestigious distinction by the year 2026. And that distinction comes down to answering this exact question. Which Indian city hosts an IIT, an AIIMS, and an IIM? The answer? It's Guwahati. It's honestly mind-blowing. By 2026, Guwahati is going to stand totally alone as the only city in the entire country to host the holy trinity of Indian higher education. So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, India's ultimate education hub. Second, 40 years in the making. Third, why Guwahati? Fourth, defying the odds. And finally, the regional impact. All right, part one. India's ultimate education hub, the trifecta. Let's map out how these mega institutes actually rolled out over time. Back in 1994, IIT Guwahati was established. That was a huge deal, becoming only the sixth IIT in the whole country at the time. Jump forward a bit to 2021, and we get AIIMS Guwahati opening its doors, bringing a premier medical institute to Assam for the very first time. And to top it all off, we've got the establishment of IIM Guwahati coming in 2026. You see, this wasn't some overnight boom. It was a really deliberate, multi-decade layering of top-tier schools. Which brings us to Section 2, 40 years in the making, building the foundation. Look, a trifecta like this doesn't just happen by accident. We're talking about deep, sustained policy choices that kicked off way before most of the students at these schools were even born. The whole thing actually starts back in 1985, setting off this incredible chain reaction. Then we get the IIT in 94. Fast forward decades to 2017, AIIMS gets the green light, and they admit their first students in 2021. And boom, the final piece, the IIM in 2026. Let's actually unpack what was going on at each of these milestones, starting with 1985. So, piece number one, the IIT, was actually born out of a political peace dividend. Basically, after years of unrest, the government of India and the All Assam Students Union signed the Assam Accord in 1985. And as part of this peace deal, there was a massive push for development to better integrate the Northeast with the rest of India. A flagship commitment of that accord was building an IIT in Assam. So by 1994, IIT Guwahati is officially established, which filled this glaring geographic gap, because before this, the entire Northeast region didn't have a single IIT. Next up was healthcare. For the longest time, if you lived in the Northeast and needed advanced medical care, you were looking at a grueling trip all the way to Delhi or another massive metro area. To fix this, the government brought Guwahati into the PMSYC scheme, which is an initiative specifically geared toward fixing regional gaps in advanced healthcare. Thanks to that, AIIMS Guwahati was built on this sprawling 189-acre campus at Changsari. We're talking a 750-bed hospital that keeps critical care, research, and top-tier medical training right there in the region. And that sets the stage for the final piece, the IIM. For years, IIM Shillong was the only one in the Northeast, but Assam is by far the biggest state in the region, so a very logical chain reaction took over. First, those peace agreements brought long-term stability. That stability allowed Assam to become the largest economy in the region. It turned into this massive logistics hub, a gateway to Southeast Asia, and a real hotspot for startups, tea, oil, petrochemicals, the whole shebang. This absolute economic explosion created a desperate need for top-tier management education, which ultimately paved the way for IIM Guwahati in 2026. Moving on to Section 3, why Guwahati, the secret sauce? Seriously, out of all the cities in the Northeast, why did Guwahati become the undisputed choice? Well, the sources outline some massive built-in advantages. First off, it's simply the largest city and the main metro hub in the region. Second, it's an absolute powerhouse for transportation. It has the busiest airport, major rail lines, highways, and even river transport on the Brahmaputra. Third, it is literally the geographic gateway. Pretty much all road, rail, and air traffic into the Northeast has to physically pass through it. Successive governments recognize this over the years, making Guwahati the obvious, consistent choice for centrally funded projects. But here's the really fascinating part. These shiny new national institutes weren't just dropped into a vacuum. Way before the IIT, AIIMS, or IIM ever showed up, Guwahati already had a really thriving academic culture. You had places like Guwahati University, Assam Engineering College, Guwahati Medical College, and Cotton University, providing a rock-solid foundation. They basically built an environment that was ready to support and collaborate with these massive new players.
Section 4. Defying the odds. A rare combination. Okay, we really need to talk about why getting an IIT, an AIIMS, and an IIM in one single city is so ridiculously rare and how it essentially defies all the usual rules of bureaucratic planning. The big hurdle here is that these institutes don't report to the same boss. You've got the Ministry of Education overseeing the IITs and the IIMs. But AIIMS, that falls under a totally different umbrella, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So to land all three in one city, you need this incredibly rare cross-departmental alignment. You need totally different arms of the government making sustained investments over decades, all agreeing that this one specific location is strategically vital. It's honestly a masterclass in long-term urban planning.
And our final section, number 5, the regional impact and looking forward.
So what happens now? What does this 40-year investment actually do for the region's future? The ripple effects are going to be monumental. Having this specific trio of institutes acts like a giant magnet for the absolute top-tier talent from all over India. This huge concentration of brainpower is going to supercharge research and innovation. We're talking more startups, vital tech transfers, and a permanently upgraded healthcare system for millions of people. Plus, just on a purely economic level, it's going to drive incredible demand for housing, hospitality, and professional services, which lifts the entire city's profile. Which really brings our 40-year story full circle. There's a quote directly from the source material that I want to read because it just perfectly nails Guwahati's new identity. It says, "Together, these institutions reflect Guwahati's emergence as the premier education, healthcare, research, and innovation hub of Northeast India. It wasn't an accident. From a peace accord back in 1985 to a major healthcare push in 2017 to an economic boom securing an IIM for 2026, it was a steady, deliberate march forward." So I'm going to leave you with something to chew on. Can other regions actually replicate this 40-year model of sustained investment? Is it possible to see this kind of cross-departmental, multi-decade planning work for other emerging cities? I mean, it takes peace, massive economic momentum, existing academic roots, and a geographically crucial location. Guwahati pulled it off, completely rewriting its destiny in the process. Whether anyone else can recreate that exact blueprint, we'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you a really solid understanding of how India's ultimate education hub was built. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.